My name is A.Strongheart. Welcome to my channel. So I was in Costa Rica. I was going out and swimming in the ocean each day. The last day that I was at the beach, I went out into the ocean even though the waters were a little bit rough. And I was going to go just to get just a little bit of a swim, just to enjoy the ocean just a little bit before we had to take off. I got into around chest high water and I recognized the ocean was really being strong that day. And so I turned around to try and come back in. And just as I turned around to try and come back in, a wave came over me and pushed me down under the water. I tried with everything I could to make a stroke under the water, and my arm was just pinned back. The ocean was so strong. And so I just had to end up waiting for the ocean. Then when it allowed me to resurface, I would take one stroke and then I would get hit again by a wave and get knocked under. And I was under for like 15 to 30 seconds. And then I would come up and I would try and stroke again. I would make maybe 1.5 strokes, and I would get hit by a wave again. And gosh, this kept happening to me. And I kind of surrendered and I did as much as I could. Every time I came up, I'd take a couple of strokes. And I was getting very exhausted, and I started to realize what I was doing was I was coming up and I was stroking, and the wave was coming behind me, and I was stroking just enough to stay in front of it, and I would get hit by the wave. And so when I came up, the next time I came up and the wave was right behind me, and I waited for the wave to pass me by. And it passed me by and crashed in front of me, and then I started swimming. And I realized that I had to watch the ocean, pay attention to the ocean, and work with what it was doing. And so the next wave was coming behind me, and I waited, and then I stroked. And eventually I did make it into shore. And it's just so amazing, you know, the power of nature. There's things that are out of our control. Wild animals, storms, oceans. These things, it doesn't matter how much you yell at them or you try and kick and scream, or even you could bring your gun to the ocean. It's not going to stop the ocean from being the ocean. And so there are greater flows in this life that we have to pay attention to. We don't get to just dictate the rules. We have to learn to follow their lead, to follow its lead, to follow the mountain's lead. If we are lost in the mountains and we want to make it home, we need to pay attention to the mountain and what the mountain is doing. Is it sloping real high here? Is it cliffing out right here? Is the jungle very dense right here? Is it sloping off? How steep is it? Can you actually get down it? And you have to start to listen and pay attention to what the mountain and the earth and the nature and the forces of this universe are telling you, are showing you, are guiding you into. And so this is the important thing. There are things in this world that we have to follow their lead. And we have to know how to be able to surrender in those situations. And not all situations are that, but not all situations are not that either. There are greater forces at work in this world than just our designs. That is not only true for nature, for the wilderness, for the wild, powerful forces that are here on earth, but also for the forces of creation, the forces of spirituality, forces of our soul, our destiny, our dharma, our connection to God, the eternal being, the angels, and karma. And so you may try to paddle as hard as you can. That doesn't mean that you're going to dominate the wave. The wave has to be worked with. The water has to be worked with. And anybody who's been in the powerful ocean knows that that has to be worked with. That force of ocean, of water, needs to be worked with. And so too the understandings of karma in this world, and how God's greater designs have a design on your life and on this world at large. There are lines in the sand that if we cross, we will pay the price now or in the future. And We have to learn to work with those lines, to learn to see those lines. That's what our intuition is talking to us about. That's what our conscience is talking to us about. That's what our soul and the understandings of right and wrong, and the understandings of freedom and enslavement are all about. We have to learn to pay attention to those intuitive places where the universe is talking to us. In order to conduct a scientific study, you need millions of dollars. So you could go into the ocean and say, you know what, I don't believe that the wave is going to drown me unless there's a scientific study to prove that said wave had such designs on me. There's no way I believe it until the scientific research is plugged in. But that's a total cop-out from the reality of the world. The reality of the world is you can get in the water. You can have an guesstimation, an estimation of your capacities and capabilities. And you can have a guesstimation of the forces of the water. And you can understand where the truth and the conclusion of that lies in your situation. And you don't need a scientific study or a priest to ordain such a thing. It's pure, straight connection with the universe, with the earth, with your intuition, with yourself and your soul and God, the eternal being, and the greater designs of the universe. And so we don't pay service to that in our culture. We say, oh, that's all gobbledygook. That's nonsense. That's not real. What's real is the dollars in the bank account. What's real is what I want you to do. What's real is what I'm gonna trick you into being a sucker for. And that's what we say is real. This is real. Me trying to con your ass. When the truth is, you are having a direct experience with life and God and intuition and your soul and the earth and your karma, and all that you do is a direct experience of life. And so we need to start to learn to trust in that. That is the core essential thing of being alive, is to trust in that. And every family, every friend, every priest, every shaman, every scientist, every corporation, every government, every agent of everything in the human world is trying to get you to throw that intuition, that direct connection out and adopt what they tell you to adopt, because then you're more easily controllable. And who doesn't want free slave labor? And so much of the world is about trying to con you out of that direct experience. But the truth is that direct experience is where all the most beautiful, insightful, powerful, joyful, fulfilling pieces of life come from. That comes from your direct connection and experience with life, God, your soul, and your fulfillment yourself directly. And there's no middleman in that. You are the middleman. You are the middleman that draws the lived experience and God, the eternal being, together into one. You are the vessel with which life is carried out from the Creator, God, eternal being. And so that is the primary function. And so much in this life, we try to get people to outsource that direct connection with some other insert X, insert Y. And that's not the reality of life. There's that saying, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled, but that is to convince you that they didn't exist. But I don't believe that's the case. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled is to pretend that he is God. And the truth is God, and God is inside of you. God is your birthright. God is what you are. God is where you come from. God is the ultimate truth, the penultimate truth of our universe. And so experiencing through that directly, and not having a middleman in the way is the way forward, you know. My name is Anthony Strongheart. Thanks for tuning into my channel.